What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. And if you are one of my regular viewers, you know that I like to do a series on my channel which is reviewing each episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So if that's something you enjoy, then please make sure you like this video and you subscribe because you don't want to miss those videos. But today, I was actually going to film a Buffy video, but I'm going to film that next because I wanted to do a review of a film that's just come out on Netflix. Now, it's not a film that maybe a lot of you might want to watch, but it's probably a film that, well, the original film is probably something that you all watched growing up. Maybe you were teenagers in the 90s, maybe you were young kids in the 90s and you still grew up watching this film, because I know I did. But I wanted to just watch the reboot, if that's what you want to call it, and just compare the differences. This one's a loosely based reboot on what the original is, and that is He's All That. So if you guys don't know, He's All That is basically taken from She's All That, the iconic 90s teen movie starring Rachel Lee Cook and Freddie Prinze Jr. But this one has a very different take on it, purely because we are now using TikTok stars as lead actors in films, and if you don't know, it stars Addison Rae, who is a TikTok star. This is her film debut, her acting debut, so we'll talk a little bit about her acting as well, but it also stars Buchanan from one of the best shows on Netflix, Cobra Kai. So yeah, overall, I would like to say that this movie is not terrible, but it's not something that is typically something I would care to watch again. So grab your snacks, grab your tea, grab your drink, and when we come back, we will be exploring and reviewing He's All That. So there's basically two significant changes that are distinguished between He's All That and She's All That. One of them being in She's All That, we know that the popular guy in school, played by Freddie Prinze Jr, is the one that makes a bet with his best friend Dean, played by Paul Walker, to turn the most nerdiest, unpopular girl in school into prom queen after his girlfriend dumps him. In this one, however, we explore the same type of concept. However, it's basically gender swapped. So we have a popular girl who dumps her boyfriend, spoiler alert, because he cheats on her, and she's played by Addison Rae, and then she makes a bet with her best friend or friend to turn a unpopular, artsy kind of awkward kid in school into prom queen by the end of the film. So basically the same concept, just gender swapped. And that guy, that nerdy guy, is played by Buchanan. So aside from obviously the gender swapped idea behind the film, it's pretty much the same concept, just played out a little bit differently and with heavy use of social media, TikTok, sort of going live on social media, and how that can affect you, and how it affects kids nowadays. So despite it all, I don't like when films or TV shows use too much of social media, or just in general too much of this kind of generation, because it can make the film feel outdated when you watch it later on. Like with She's All That, although it's obviously from the 90s, I don't feel it's dated, and I still feel it's aged well despite some of the tropes you get in it. But with this film, because it's so heavy social media focused, I feel like it may get outdated in future, but it works obviously for today's generation. But there's a good message behind it, basically to say that you should live in the moment, not care so much what people think or how you're perceived online. Just be yourself, and don't let people sort of tell you who you need to be with how much money you have, where you live, and things like that. So that message behind it is good, but the rest of the film is mediocre. There's nothing special about it, and it doesn't have the same heart as the original has. So both movies are set in basically high school, but with He's All That, we follow Addison Rae's character, who is this popular girl who's dating this, I would say, wannabe superstar, and she basically goes to surprise him at work, where she finds that he is cheating on her with, I think, a backup dancer, and her friend is basically live streaming the whole thing, so everybody gets to see like the humiliation that Addison Rae's character called Pageant Sawyer goes through. Because of this, she basically loses a lot of followers, and the lady that she works with and gets all her brand deals from basically wants to drop her if she doesn't bring up her followers and things like that, and she's played by Kourtney Kardashian. Now that acting was terrible, but what do we expect? But yeah, so we basically follow Pageant Sawyer. She makes a bet with her friends, and they pick Tanner Buchanan as the guy, and we get to see her sort of just basically stalk him around a little bit, but until he decides, okay, I'll hang out with you. So then she starts, you know, doing things that he's interested in, like going to the stables, cleaning up poop, horse poop, things like that. But we can start to see that she's slightly starting to like him, as with the original. And then she does this whole makeover, because it wouldn't be a teen movie without a makeover. And instead of the slow walk down the stairs to Kiss Me by Rachel Lee Cook, we have a slow walk into the kitchen by Tanner, with all sort of suited and booted, hair done, looking pretty good. So she's done a good job there. And they basically go to a party as with the original, and he gets into a fight because Pageant, Addison Rae's character, her boyfriend tries to hook up with Tanner's little sister, so they get into a fight, and then there's this whole karate sequence, but I think that's primarily because of Cobra Kai. They're like, let's see how we can link the two, kind of, let's make this character know karate all of a sudden. But whatever, cute little nod. Anyway, he gets angry at Pageant, like, why did you bring me here? I don't belong here, kind of thing. And they have a falling out, and she's all upset. And Rachel Lee Cook basically plays her mum. I didn't mention that. She plays her mum. So we see her throughout the film here and there. She's giving basically Addison some little pep talk, how it's going to be okay and things like that. And they have obviously a falling out and things like that. But he gets over it and asks her to prom in this cute little way. But then when he asks her to prom at a car wash, her friend basically outs her out and is like, tell him. And he's like, tell me what? And she's like, yeah, I kind of, this is a bet, sort of thing. I'm just recapping here. If you want to know exactly what the scene is, go watch it, but I'm just recapping. And then we get the little Easter egg here where he's like, instead of like, am I a bet? Am I an effing bet? He basically says something along those lines like, was this all a bet? Was it a bet or something? And that little cute reference, whatever. And then basically that's all, like, she's heartbroken and stuff, and her friend basically now is hooking up with her ex-boyfriend. So the girl that she made the bet with is hooking up with her ex-boyfriend, and we find out that she just wanted to use Addison Rae this whole time and didn't really like her. And she basically tells everyone that Addison Rae doesn't live in this big fancy place and doesn't have all this money because her mum's a nurse, and she's the one that makes all the money basically for them. So then we move on to prom, and we have this whole dance sequence again that we had in the original. This time very TikTok-y moves. You'll see what I mean when you watch it. There's a lot of TikTok moves thrown in there. And there's this little dance off between Addison Rae and the girls and her friends, and her ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend. So that was a bit weird. Anyway, then we get the ultimate cameo that I was waiting for, and probably a lot of OG She's All That fans were waiting for, is when Matthew Lillard comes in. He's basically the principal, the teacher, whatever, and he's doing the announcements for prom king and prom queen, and he's in it. So I was super excited about that because he was literally the one person I was waiting for, and I was like, where is he? But he's basically at the end of the film. So if you don't want to watch anything else, skip to the prom scene so you can watch Matthew in the scene basically. And lo and behold, pageant wins prom queen, her ex-boyfriend wins prom king. But she's basically like, I don't want this. Like, we shouldn't all just want this or dream of stuff that we or want things that are just unrealistic. And she gives this whole speech about social media and being yourself and blah, 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 which is a good message to younger kids. I know it is, but it's basically what the whole movie's about anyway. And then we see Tanner come to prom at the end and basically ride in on a horse, as you do, because his sister basically went to the stables and gave him probably a speech about like, why is he being so stubborn, go get your girl. And of course it's a teen movie and it's based on She's All That, so of course there's going to be this big thing at the end where they're like, I'm sorry, blah blah blah, and they get back together and it's sweet and cute. And we get Matthew do this little nod at the end where he does a little dance as he did in the original, which was kind of funny and kind of was a good little thing for the OG fans that are watching. And then Rachel Lee Cook's character at the end is basically like, have I heard this song before? Because basically it's Kiss Me playing in the background as Tanner and Addison get together. So yeah. That's pretty much the end of the movie. Oh, and we see then Addison and Tanner go traveling after they've graduated from high school, and she's still documenting everything as she was throughout the whole movie. So that is basically it for my little review of the movie. Now let's get into a few things. Basically, the plot. We know the plot is the same as She's All That, but it doesn't have the same heart. It didn't capture me or I think the audience as She's All That did. I don't know if it's just this thing with remakes where it just doesn't have the same feeling as the originals, or if it's because it's something we've seen before but done better before. I mean, the characters are likeable. Tanner's character's likeable. He's a bit annoying at the start where he like hates everyone and is just very antisocial. Addison's character, she's a little bit over the top for me, but she kind of is very similar to Addison, how I see her on social media and TikTok and stuff. So she's very similar to her in that sense, but sometimes it can come across as a bit too much. I don't know. Whereas in the original, like, I actually liked Freddie's character, and you see that growth in his character, and I liked Rachel Lee Cook's character as well. Whereas this one's a bit like, they're okay, I guess. If we look at acting wise, so Tanner, good. He's a good actor. I like him. I like him in Cobra Kai. I think he's really good in Cobra Kai. And I like him in this film. Like I said at the start, slightly annoying. But then as we go along, he's good. He's a good actor. He's decent. He's probably one of the only actual actors in this, other than obviously the OGs. So nothing bad to say about him. Addison Rae, she's okay. I'm not going to be horrible because I don't think she's too bad. For someone who this is their film debut, she's not too bad. Like I said, her character can be slightly annoying, but I don't know if that's just the character or the way she portrayed the character. There's a few scenes where she has to be really emotional and it's a bit like, I don't know. I didn't believe it. But there is a few scenes where she's actually quite good. Like at the start when her boyfriend cheats on her, if you watch that scene, you'll know what I mean. So she's decent, she's not terrible. I know a lot of people are going to be saying she's terrible just because she's Addison Rae and they just want to be mean. But I don't think she was all that bad. She's not all that, but she's not all that bad either, as her film debut. And obviously we have Matthew, who is just iconic anyway, Matthew Lillard, so nothing bad to say about him. And Rachel Lee Cook is decent. She doesn't have too many scenes, but she's okay. She's not that bad. And the rest of the cast are just average. Like, there's nothing special about their performances. but there's nothing bad about them either. It's watchable. So production wise, so if we get to the production, it is a Netflix film. So with Netflix films, I don't like to go too harsh on the production and things like that, because it is Netflix. It's not going to be this big budget Michael Bay film, you know. But it's okay. At times it kind of looked cheap, because you do get a lot of Netflix films on this sort of caliber, you know, these high school rom-coms, like for example, I'm trying to think of the name, To All the Boys, To All the Boys I Loved Before, which is actually decent, the way it's filmed, the way it's done, the production's quite good. This one lacked a little bit. It wasn't the best quality at times. It just didn't look like it was of a high production that you'd want to watch. And I know it's not, but you'd kind of still expect that. I mean, I wouldn't say any different to watching this as you're watching, you know, Addison Rae on YouTube. It kind of had that feel, and I think because I use social media quite a lot in it, and a lot of the times you're watching it, sort of their live streams and stuff on the phone, so it's that kind of style of the film. If you like that, you don't mind the high production value or the quality, but if you don't, then I'll probably miss it. Even the wardrobe, let's talk about the costumes, because I feel like with some films, especially teen films, the wardrobe can play a critical role in the movie. It can almost become like a secondary character. Hello Clueless, we know the outfit's iconic, the yellow plaid outfit is iconic, and it made the film as well. With this one, they fall short on the costumes and the clothes and the wardrobe, and it's kind of bland. Like there's nothing memorable about it, you know. I mean, Pageant, Addison Rae's character, wears these colourful, like very girly clothes, and they're cute, but it's nothing that you're gonna be like, wow, I'm gonna wear that for Halloween and pretend to be Pageant Sawyer, like you do with Cher, you know. So, and also Tanner's character was trying too hard to be this indie rock artistic kid, kind of Jughead Jones vibes from Riverdale, like with the hat, the baggy clothes, and all that kind of stuff. But so it wasn't anything too great. I mean, at the end, Pageant wears to prom a red dress, which is obviously a nod to Rachel Lee Cook wearing a red dress in She's All That. But other than that, it wasn't anything special. I know that the original, I guess, was it the creators from She's All That were involved in this project, which made me a little bit excited, because I was like, okay, that was their baby. They're not going to do anything wrong with this one. They must know a great direction they want to take it in, and it's not going to get ruined by other people stepping in. But it just fell short, and I can't put my finger on why it fell short. If you know why this film just didn't work as well, just let me know. And I feel like they did a very lazy adaptation in terms of, let's just use social media, let's just use this big TikTok star and create this whole social media buzz around it. And I think that's all they wanted to do, was have something that would be talked about on TikTok, and there would be memorable scenes that can be used in TikTok, and memorable dance moves that can be used in TikTok. I feel like that's all they wanted. They just wanted the hype around it to be on TikTok, and they didn't really care to make the story and flesh out the characters more, so you actually feel for them or you actually really like them. And it's just very lazy. But I guess maybe kids of this generation won't care too much because it has their favourite social media star. I don't know, maybe I'm looking at it more from someone who loves film, someone who loves TV and things like that, and actually wants to see more from films and from iconic films that I loved before. If you're gonna adapt them and do reboots and things, at least try and come up with something more original than social media. Don't get me wrong, She's All That is hardly a masterpiece, okay? It's not even one of the best 90s teen movies to come out, you know? You had so much more, like you had Clueless, which is my absolute fave, not another teen movie. So She's All That is great, but it's not something as iconic as those ones. However, you had a big cast of young actors, up and coming young actors, which sold it to us. You know, you had Freddie Prinze Jr., like I said, Rachel Lee Cook, Matthew Lillard, Paul Walker. you had Usher, slightly Usher in it. You had a cameo from Lil' Kim, Gabrielle Union, you know, like so many up and coming stars that we all know and love today, which just made it special in a way, because when you're using real actors as well, like, you know, because when you're using these young up and coming actors that are now obviously bigger actors, there's something more appealing to it for all audiences. And when you're just using primarily influencers or TikTokers or people that aren't really from an acting background, that is your audience, that's who you're trying to capture, and it might fall short with other people who may have grown up with the original and wanted to see either more cameos from the originals or just people that they actually know of, you know. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but who knows. Before we end this review, if we just compare two bits from both, which is probably what separates She's All That and makes it a little bit more special and iconic than He's All That, is obviously She's All That we had that iconic scene of Rachel Lee Cook walking down the stairs to kiss me, wearing that iconic, I keep saying iconic red dress, and Freddie Prinze Jr. is basically like the whole time. So that scene alone is what made She's All That, and is what people still talk about when they think of She's All That. That is that scene. However, He's All That doesn't have that. It doesn't have anything different or new or special that is just going to have a scene that people talk about and remember. I mean, yes, we still had that slow walk from Tanner, but it wasn't anything that's going to be remembered. It was just him walking into the kitchen, slow walk, whatever, looks good. But there's nothing like that in He's All That we will look back on in 20 years and be like, yeah, that's still being talked about now. No, there isn't. We're still probably going to be talking about She's All That and probably forget about He's All That. But anyway, I'm rambling. I have a lot of opinions, but I don't want to spend this whole video just, you know, talking about She's All That. Anyway, if you have watched He's All That, please let me know in the comments, what did you think? Let me know your little review on what do you think about the acting, story, plot, cameos, anything you want to leave your comment on, let me know down below. Overall, it was enjoyable, it was okay to watch, it was something to watch, and I like the nods to the original, but it's not worth it if you don't really care. Honestly, if you don't really care about the original, it's probably not even worth it unless you're 15. So that's my review. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. But anyway, guys, thank you again for watching. My next video will probably be either a Buffy video or a Scream video that I've already filmed, so stay tuned for that. I'm thinking in September, October time, I want to do more of a horror focused theme for Halloween. Maybe even look at Halloween specific episodes from different TV programs, or just films centered around Halloween. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments. And as always, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Mwah.